Yeah, poor Sydney.
Let's give him something to talk about. I see the energy running out. I got a planet to run around.
I always feel bad when I make those pictures like that because when I have to, because I just want, it'd be nice to put the whole family up, but then it takes some space on the graphic that I'm making, and those graphics are important for people if you want people to watch it and stuff like. Oh, I got to cut them out. This is such a great picture, but I got to cut out their spouse or their child.
Yeah. Well, you got the child that's part of the story.
Right, I did. I got the child that's part of the story.
In most family pictures, Spencer's usually right next to me.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
so it's easier to find.
Well, the ones that are cool are the ones the wedding ones.
Oh, yeah.
Those are really good pictures.
Thank you.
By the way, that was a professional photographer.
Yeah.
I was going to go in that, and I'm like, well, our podcast isn't that good.
Yeah, we had some done right before Sydney left.
Yeah.
How's she doing?
She's good, thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, lots of Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is she now?
She's in Peru. She's
Oh,
in
that's
Lima.
excellent.
Yeah.
Is she in university there?
No, she's on a mission.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's on a mission?
She's on an 18-month mission in Peru.
Oh, that's 18 months?
18 months.
It's huge.
She still has 14 months. A long time.
I'll say,
wow.
How many, 14 months and how many days?
I know.
Every adult I know that has been on a mission, I know quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys Mormon?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So, but every Mormon missionary that I know that went, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
First of all, she's going to come back fluent.
100%. Yeah.
She's going to come back mature and self-confident.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like it's one of those things where you should, and I've always kind of said this, there should be, after high school, there should be 2 years of civil service or military service. So if you want to go into the military, great.
Some kind of service.
Right. So like my buddy Tim, his daughter went into the Marines, and she went into boot camp, right? And she came back more mature. She's still a little bit headstrong. And
she
almost
came back from the Marines.
Almost too independent, but it's like a growing up age.
Yeah. So Matt went to Boston, and that's another legacy his family has is of missionary service. And so I think 6 of the 9 served missions, and his parents did 2 missions to Iceland as a retired couple.
Really?
And then several grandkids now have served. They have 2 out right now, including Sydney, and I think another one will go sometime next year. So
what a cool thing.
Yeah. So she's in Peru.
Yeah, my neighbor,
awesome.
One of my very good neighbors. She's my my kind of confidential business consultant for Diablo CrossFit. Yvonne and I laugh about it, Janie, and she's Mormon, and I get the best advice, like best independent. She always asks me, "How's your gym? How are things going? What are you doing?" And then she'll get into very specific questions. She was a teacher, but every time I talk to her, I'm like, damn, she knows. Just like she's so worldly. And both of her kids went on missions.
Yeah.
Her son went on one and then immediately came back, was married, and started having babies. I know. Sorry.
I don't want to think that far ahead yet.
He is a good kid though, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Great experience. Well, that's cool. Well, this isn't about her.
I know.
Yeah. Sorry. Just curious.
That's awesome, Sydney. We're proud of you because she's a CrossFitter, and so hopefully she's
spreading
she's also doing a little bit of missionary work for CrossFit as well.
I'm sure she is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hannah's Spencer's mom. Isn't that funny? You got to say that, like, I'm Spencer's mom.
That's how I feel like I've been known by that for almost 22 years now.
Yeah.
So
really?
It's a title I'll claim. Spencer or Sydney's
Spencer's
mom. Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And some kids, like some of his old classmates, will say, "Hi, Spencer's mom. Hi, Sydney's mom."
Really?
So I'll respond to that. It's all good.
That's good. Yeah. With my mom, it was more of a curse. So you're Craig's mom. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. Who's Craig's mom in this room? We need to speak to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. And then, so Spencer was featured in a CrossFit article. Oh, do you have the article?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
I should have had it up ready.
I had it up, and then I closed all my windows to make everything run well for our podcast.
Yeah, it was just last week.
It was just last week. And they posted it on their website, and then what was even better is they posted on Instagram. And I don't know if you saw yesterday.
I saw you sent it to me. I think CrossFit
last
Brazil.
night.
I was amazed.
Yeah, and the comments and everything else. Well,
Yeah, really
Brazil,
incredible.
they are CrossFit fanatics, and
That's great.
It's the passion and enthusiasm down there is great. but this
Yeah,
story
there it
was
is.
really cool, and it's kind of deserved. And it's
Oh,
and it's
thank
great
you.
recognition for Spencer
Mhm.
and what he's done and accomplished, but his coach as well,
100%. Yeah.
Chad, who's in a very patient, methodical, just energetic, same positive attitude every time when he comes in to
Mhm.
coach. It doesn't matter whether it's Spencer or an elite athlete. He's got,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
the contrast for Chad, just to give you just kind of a little background. He's been with us for, I don't know, almost
7 years?
no,
8 years?
8 years, almost 10 years now. But the contrast for Chad is that every afternoon at about 2 o'clock, these three gigantic teen boys come in from De La Salle,
Yeah.
and they're on
Oh,
the rugby
okay.
team.
Rugby team.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's 4, by the way, in his small group
Wow.
session. He's got 4 of these just powerful athletes that he trains for to get them ready for their senior season of rugby at De La
Mhm.
Salle. And so you contrast that with Spencer, and maybe it's not that much of a contrast, but in terms of like you look at the type of athlete that they are
Mhm.
versus the type of athlete that Spencer is or was when he started anyway, because now
Yeah, definitely.
because now when you see him on a trap bar, you see him squat. I saw
I
him
know.
back squatting there. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It's really remarkable. But anyway,
Yeah.
so it's a shout out to Chad for his own coaching diversity, and he
Mhm.
carries the same attitude for both.
Yeah.
Like he's going to stand there, he's got a smile, he's boom, and hey, you got to do this. He's got it all written down. Chad will drive you a little bit nuts with his organization, and like everything is in
Yeah.
its place. When you
Yeah.
walk in, it's all set up. He comes. I always know when the 3 boys
Yeah.
are coming in, the 3 teens are coming in, because he's got 3. They're now
Mhm.
4
3
rowers
rowers,
set up.
3 bars.
3 bars.
3 sets of dumbbells. 3
sets of
kettlebells.
dumbbells.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you walk out there like, oh Christ, touch here. There's Chad again. He's got everything
Yeah.
organized. If you're a client of Chad, you walk in, it's like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. He's ready.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
ready and he prepared.
Mhm.
And I honestly, I love taking his classes. They
Yeah.
go in and he's got all the progressions on the board. He's got
Yep.
everything
He's
else.
going to lead a good warm
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got through his lesson plan.
Mhm.
So in terms of working with someone with autism, I think that probably bodes that probably
I think
serves them well.
Yeah, I think so too. Like Spencer knows what to expect. And obviously, like the first time they came in, there was probably, and I think the article speaks to this, some resistance
Yeah.
of like, or arms are crying. He used to say that, like, because his arms would get tired.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, that was the only way he could say, like, my arms hurt, like arms are crying.
What
I
a-
need a rest.
What an interesting statement. Like,
Did Chad pick that up early on
my
too? Or?
my arms have cried before.
I think,
All of
I
ours
think
has.
Chad noticed it early on, but it went away pretty quick.
Is that when he decided to maybe bring the session down to 30 minutes
Maybe.
in the beginning?
Maybe. And he's definitely, Spencer just doesn't always have a lot of body awareness. So
Right.
for Chad to coach like a more elite athlete, they've just got the ability, and he probably knows they can move a
Mhm.
certain way. Spencer's different. And, I think like Chad said in the article, he's never going to have him put a bar over his
Mhm.
head to snatch it. Like that's just not
Yeah.
a safe position for Spencer. But
Right.
they find other things to do, and he can do a mean dumbbell snatch. So,
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hey,
good.
yeah,
So
he
he's
can.
still
Oh
snatching.
yeah,
Yeah.
He's actually, I've seen his dumbbell snatch. It's good.
Yeah, it is.
It's pretty
And
fast.
Spencer's
too.
just a little workhorse for the most
Yeah.
part. Like counts every single rep. You are never going to see him shave a rep.
Mhm.
So
What's okay? So let me ask you about that. And because I want to tie it to your family. What most people there's this article actually started as a result of another article, but actually kind of a mini documentary
Mhm.
that CrossFit did, and now it's like I think they're on their 13th in a series over the last 26 weeks of telling stories, the powerful
Mhm.
stories
Yeah.
of
From within the
of
community.
transformation within the affiliate communities.
Yeah.
And one of those stories, which is really cool, and we kind of got a heads up that it was coming, was the Michaelsen family.
yeah, Matt's parents.
Right.
Yeah.
4 generations of CrossFitters. And they had a family reunion last
It was
year,
in
or
June.
earlier this year. That's right, in June.
It was in June.
And they actually all went together. Most of you went together, went to a CrossFit gym and did a workout together.
Yeah, we
right?
went to CrossFit Believe, and one of his sisters, who's an active CrossFit coach, programmed the workout. And I think she asked her parents kind of like, what movements do they like? There were numbers associated that had to do with like the year they were married and how old they were turning, and how many kids they had, and different
That's cool.
things. And then she picked movements that lots of the grandkids who didn't always have a lot of CrossFit experience could do pretty easily. So
Oh, okay.
I think there was a jump rope, there was a row or a bike, there was a farmer carry. I think there were sit-ups. There was something else. I'm forgetting something.
How old are Matt is your husband? How old are Matt's parents?
They just had their birthdays. They are 81 and 80.
And so
now.
they're doing CrossFit. All of their kids are doing CrossFit. There's
Three.
They've been doing CrossFit for a while
think,
too.
Yeah, they have 7 of the 9 do CrossFit,
Wow.
and then various spouses and grandkids. So
are the 2 that don't do CrossFit not invited to like Christmas and Thanksgiving?
No, they're not. I mean, they're
Just a
still
little bit of peer
invited.
pressure.
They're still invited. I think,
That's
sometimes
awesome.
I think they feel a little left out, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I remember
sure.
feeling that way before we started CrossFit. It was kind of like, there's this club, but it's all good. And just and his mom always has been really active.
That is all good, right?
It is.
And that's what people need to understand too. Like, yeah, you might feel like you're on the outside looking in, but we CrossFitters need that balance too in our lives. We need people that are not doing CrossFit tell us, hey, you need to shut the hell up.
Yep.
Enough is enough.
CrossFitters know that one pretty well.
I know. I get your point.
Yeah.
But the point I wanted to not necessarily make, but ask you about was related to Spencer and his work ethic. Does it come because he clearly will put in the effort and exert himself at a high level?
Yeah.
Does that come from? Do you think that's kind of a family trait?
I think there's definitely a portion of that. I think to every extent, and this is alluded to in the video about his parents, like they had 9 kids, they had a big garden, they always had a project, they had another family business to like clean up a local parking lot, shopping center parking lot every morning. I mean, they were out there working at age 4 to do that. And so there's always been just that kind of a work ethic among them as kids, which probably, ties into what both of my kids
where do they live? Where do Matt's parents live?
They live in Missouri, just outside Kansas City now, but they raised their family mostly in Norman, Oklahoma. His dad taught at the University of Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's where most of the family was born and raised.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a work ethic there. Does Spencer feel? Do you get a sense that he feels he's more connected to the family as a result of his CrossFit?
Oh, definitely. I think so. And because like if we post a video or Chad shares something with me from their workout and I'll share it with Matt's family, there's kind of like a family text around the open and around CrossFit things. And so they'll all comment on it. And I think they're all amazed, at what Spencer can do. But, so they see him putting in the effort and see what he's capable of. Because I think that's one thing about autism is sometimes while looking at Spencer until you talk to him or maybe watch him move a certain way, you can't really tell he has autism. And it's this invisible disability.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think sometimes when people hear that, they assume that means like certain things he can or can't do or certain levels of functioning. And, it's just one part of Spencer. And there's a lot of other great things about him, including that he's a pretty good little athlete.
Yeah. Just as to give people a little bit of background to you, one of the things that I didn't know about you, and I was embarrassed that I didn't know it when I read the email, that you are also a director of a charity that provides services to families that have children with disabilities.
Yeah. My center serves Contra Costa County. We're called Care Parent Network. And we're actually a part of a network of other centers around the state of California that have funding from the state to provide these parent-to-parent support services. And so we're part of a couple different networks, but really like every county in California can find a parent center staffed by parents, which is really like where the secret sauce is, with that lived experience. And so when a brand new family calls us, so often they'll talk to my team members and they'll say, oh my gosh, it's so nice to talk to someone who knows what I'm going through, because, and this is our experience too, we didn't know anybody else who had autism when Spencer was diagnosed. There was no autism in our family.
How old was Spencer when he was diagnosed?
He was a little over 2.
Did you suspect something prior to that?
Maybe a little bit. Definitely like delayed language. That's what we first noticed. But then, especially as we had Sydney later and saw her develop during her first year, I saw things that she did that Spencer never did. So there were definitely signs. But Spencer's our first child. He's the first grandchild on my side of the family. So like, you know, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
But definitely delayed language was our first kind of inkling. And then Matt had a couple sisters who have autism, nephews with autism on their husband's side. And so they pulled him aside at a family reunion, I think a little bit after Spencer's 2nd birthday. And they were like, hey, you might want to get this checked out. And part of me was like, what do they know? You know, feeling a little defensive.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
But then realizing like, no, we really do need to get this checked out. And so we had him evaluated with the regional center system. So regional center of the East Bay serves Contra Costa and Alameda counties. And there's 21 regional centers across the state. It's really a system unique to California, and that provides a variety of services for children and individuals with developmental disabilities. So he was evaluated and found eligible for early intervention services. And so he started in a preschool pretty early on, and that was kind of our journey. And then later he got his autism diagnosis. But
and then when that happened, did that mean for you instantly that full-time care was going to be necessary for Spencer?
I was already a stay-at-home mom when Spencer was diagnosed, and that had kind of been our plan, was for me to stay home during that time. But I think it definitely was like, all of a sudden this journey looks different than how I thought it would. He was starting preschool at 2.5, which probably was earlier than I might have put him in as a stay-at-home mom. And just realizing he needed a level of support that, you know, we had to learn about. And it's a tough, steep learning curve when you receive a new diagnosis of anything. And you're just kind of expected to like already know how all these systems work and what door to go through and who to talk to and where to go. And so that's why connecting with a parent center like mine, and there's others in California, is so powerful, because you learn by talking to other parents what to do and what's out there and how to navigate these systems, because they're pretty complex.
How old is Spencer now?
He will be 22 next month.
Okay. All right. So is it expected with Spencer that he will have a lifetime or need a lifetime of assisted care?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think he'll be able to live independently. Our goal is not to have him live with us forever, but that would mean moving into a setting where there's a lot of support for a living arrangement. You may be in a group home or an apartment with a couple of other individuals, but you know, he can't always be safe by himself or know what to do in an emergency, or you know, there's just a few things we always still have to monitor for him. In some ways, he's like a 4-year-old or a 7-year-old. Like, we can't leave him at home by himself.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, he'll always need some level of care and support.
One of the things that I read in the article that I wasn't aware of, I guess I've known Spencer since the very beginning, and I've seen his progress and go from where I remember when you were sitting in on his sessions, and his sessions were, you know, some might end early, the other earlier than others. And now as I walk in, I just get oblivious, because now I walk in, I'm like, oh, Spencer's here for a session. Oh, he's deadlift today. Wow. Oh, crap. That's amazing. That's a good amount of weight. And I just assume, like, I look at him, I don't look at him as Spencer, the kid with autism. Now I walk in and I look and I see him as Spencer, another member doing a private coaching session with Coach Chad.
Another athlete.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's going to be here for 45 minutes or an hour. He's going to be lifting. And then I walk in, I come into my office, I'll do some work. I'm like, and as I'm walking, I'm like, oh, he's in his Metcon now. What's he doing? Oh, he's doing dumbbells. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and that's pretty cool in terms
Mhm.
of his personal development
Yep.
here.
Yep.
But in the article you talked about he's lost 20 pounds, I think you
I think
said.
he lost 20 pounds initially. You know, he's on a variety of medications that help manage symptoms related to autism. And he's also got a couple of co-occurring conditions of ADHD and anxiety. And just because of his autism, he can't always manage those maybe in a way that somebody who isn't developmentally challenged would be able to. And so those medicines have different side effects. One of the medications he's on made him gain weight. And it's just one of the side effects of those medications. Now, looking at Spencer before he started CrossFit, you wouldn't have guessed that he was overweight. He looked pretty healthy. I mean, he and Matt are built pretty similarly, like tall, a little thin, or lean, and
much like Matt's dad.
yeah. And then, but it wasn't until Spencer started CrossFit and lost weight. I think I first saw it in photos. And then he has a psychiatrist that we work with regularly to manage his medications. And she'll track his weight and check his blood pressure and run his labs. And that's when she was like, wait, what happened? He lost 20 pounds. Like she was making sure everything was okay. Like, you know, obviously it's a significant enough decrease that a good doctor's going to ask, like, what did you do?
Was that because he came off of that particular medication that was making him
it's just
gain
because
weight,
he
or
still
just because
needs the medication. It's because he's
been training,
exercising, and adding that weightlifting component to it. Spencer's put on a lot of muscle since he started CrossFit.
So one of the things I noticed with Spencer. So I walk in, and if you say hi to Spencer, he's very quick to say hello.
He's kind of learned that as like a response.
And then he puts his hand out for a handshake. Which everybody loves to do, especially the bros in this gym. They all love to shake Spencer's hand. But you grab his hand, and it is
strong,
bro.
It's a good grip.
It's a firm.
I gave him a fist bump at the turkey trot. I was like, "Holy shit!"
he gives a firm handshake, which I admire. I like. And you know, there's kids here in our teen class that give me a handshake. I'm no.
And it's like a limp noodle.
And no, I pulled back and I've said, look, because someone did this to me when I was, I think it was like 14 or 15, a partner in my dad's law firm, big tall guy, Bernie Allard, 6'6", 200, and he played football in college. And my dad introduced me to him, and I gave him a handshake, and he goes, I'm sorry, Craig, we got to do that again. He goes, now I want you to look me in the eye and shake my hand with a firm handshake. That was like tattooed on my brain. It scared the crap out of me because this guy was such a big man. But I remember it the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And firm handshakes, you guys know, is like it's just a sign of confidence.
It is. Yeah. 100%.
And no offense to anybody that's got a limp grip, but you shake my hand.
Work on that one.
I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
And so I had to tell some of the teens in here, same thing, and because they need to know.
Yeah.
And Spencer, though, no problem.
Not a problem.
And I think they've worked on it at school.
Oh, okay.
Social skills
Yeah.
and things like that.
It's
That's
great.
good.
But he has gotten stronger too.
Yeah, he has.
And you can tell.
Yeah.
Well, the numbers that were posted in the article as well.
Kind of his PRs of different things. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
And I love that Chad is tracking that as well.
Got the 205 deadlift, 145 back squat. That was in. Oh, never mind. I thought that was in the 2020.
I know Chad posted a few more in his Instagram post when he reshared.
Yeah, he did.
This. Yeah.
No, tying this back to the independence for Spencer. Have you noticed any behavioral improvements that would allow him to be more self-sufficient as a result of the CrossFit exposure?
Definitely. I think like their exercise in general, and I think CrossFit especially does, help to regulate certain behaviors, lessen the anxiety overall. He's also just pretty capable around the house. Like last Saturday, Matt and Spencer went over to a friend's house. She needed a ditch dug, and Spencer needs some guidance and somebody to kind of stay on him, but he's very capable of lifting and carrying heavy things. And so he's a good helper and good, dependable worker when it comes to those kinds of things. So I think that bodes well for, independence going forward, just being capable to lift and carry and use various, yard tools, things like that.
I'm thinking too that sometimes, especially with ADHD, as my daughter is ADHD, but when she's does physical work or does a workout, a tired mind's a good mind. Meaning,
For sure.
right? So it quiets the noise in her brain
Yeah.
and allows her to focus better.
Yeah.
And I notice it afterwards.
Yeah.
Like the next hour after she works out.
Yeah, it's true.
It's similar with me too. I can, I'm able to focus and concentrate on stuff more after I've had a workout than before.
And that's why, and I think the article mentions this with Spencer's school program over the years. We really encouraged the various teachers he had to embed it throughout his day with and I think it says we brought a pogo stick to school.
Yeah.
And would have him go do 100 jumps before he needed to sit and attend to something like a math lesson or a reading thing, just something where he had to be more still. It definitely helped him to get movement breaks throughout his day, which really is just a good tool for
one of our
former
coaches is a teacher up in the Sacramento area, although I think she's now stay-at-home mom this year. Coach Whitney Huser, and then also Brittany Benedetto here at Diablo here, who's has been a competitive athlete for years, but is also a teacher. Have both used CrossFit.
Yep.
Annalise George as well.
Yeah.
Use CrossFit in their classrooms in a sense. And when I say CrossFit, they're doing
functional movements
at
a high intensity.
But increasing their movement throughout the day with small breaks, like Rhonda Patrick,
small burpees. Here's just
Dr. Rhonda Patrick
holds.
said. So snacks, like little exercise snacks.
Yep.
Which helps stop the fidgeting, gets them to concentrate. All too often, the school system, and we experienced this with our daughter, where they literally told us or strongly recommended medication for her to keep her still in the classroom. And she was, and I want to say that was ninth grade.
Oh, okay.
That they recommended that for. And we were, whoa, it was surprising to us. But there's a movement now to really start to re-emphasize the importance of recess. And
those are the things that get cut
recess.
in school.
Yes. Yeah. And I understand. I'm like, I'm not gonna. This is not about politics. I understand how those things happen. I understand why those things get cut. Right. So they want to allocate towards, other parts of education they think are important. And I think the ramifications have been that kids are moving less, so they're burning less calories throughout the day. They're more fidgety throughout the day. And you look at an example of Spencer, where he moves, he exercises, and it quiets his mind, allows him to focus and be a better person.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Same with my daughter, and same with me, and most of us. And I'm hopeful that the schools turn back to a more active, more productive recess.
Yeah. Re-encourage even activities like start of the day. Let's do like a stretch and flex for industrial athlete.
Yeah.
Just a basic. Let's stretch and move and do stuff.
Right. Just at the very beginning, start it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that difficult.
I think about now one of the biggest impacts to my body fat percentage as a 61-year-old man has been walking every morning.
That would be an easy thing to implement.
And then walking 10 minutes at night, just walking. And there's so many times where I want to go for, I'm like, you know what? No, just this is my walking time.
Yeah.
And it's mentally relaxing.
Yeah.
But two, I know that it is having a metabolic effect on me.
Yeah.
And setting me up for a better day. You think about that, like if kids came to school and the first thing they have to do is go for a walk around, they've got these big, huge enclosed fields, that take these kids for.
It wouldn't be that difficult to do.
Nope.
How good it would be for the teachers, to have those kids come in and just be,
even the teachers. Imagine the teachers did it with them.
what a novel concept.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Very interesting. So you're coming back to, you're taking care of Spencer, you're taking care of your daughter too, Sydney. Did you homeschool both?
No,
kids?
neither of them were homeschooled. Spencer, when he turned 3, entered the school district, which is very typical for a kid with a disability like autism, because that's when they can get an IEP, an individualized education program. And so he needed a really specific setting. And he was always, for him, the model that worked best was a dedicated autism class, which
Okay.
usually had about 10 students, a teacher, and about 4 aides.
Mm.
And so the ratio is low,
Yeah.
teacher to student. And that was the setting that was best for him. Sydney, because we'd been taking Spencer to school basically her whole life, he started his early intervention program within days of when she was born. When she was so excited to go to preschool because she'd been taking her brother to school all the
Yeah.
time. She's like, finally, it's my turn. She was so excited. So I just thought my kids don't need me as their teacher.
Yeah.
I could support them in other ways
Yeah.
and just
Right.
tried to be involved in their schools. And Spencer and Sydney were never at the same school. We're in Mount Diablo School District, which is a large district.
Yeah.
But for him, that was a good thing because there's a wide variety of programs
Mm.
and different levels of autism. And that's where I felt like he got the best service. Some years are better than others, just like, a kid in general education.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was a good thing for him. And then for Sydney, to be sensitive to our siblings that of kids with special needs, like it's hard. And
Yeah.
I'm sure she's going to process that throughout her life. She went through ups and downs. Like sometimes she'd say, it's not fair. He has more rules than I do. And it's like, or she'd see like therapists come over to play with him because he needed to work on taking turns in a game. And she just sees them playing. She's like, why do I have to do homework? And he doesn't.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The whole gamut. So for her, I think it was good that they weren't at the same school because then she could kind of disclose to her friends as she felt comfortable about her brother.
Yeah.
So,
These are things that, so like that right there, right? That's very, it's very eye-opening to me. I wouldn't have thought that would be, that there would be those types of issues, which really emphasizes the benefits of a support group.
Definitely.
How did you get involved with the charity that you're working with now?
First, as a new parent, I can't even remember how I knew to contact them. Probably at some point somebody told me to contact them. And I remember I wanted to get connected with a mentor, another parent whose son was a little older than Spencer and had been through the same school district. Because I had questions about what school district and kindergarten and everything might look like
All
for
the
him.
questions.
And then just talking in other support groups that I've attended over the years, it really normalizes your experience when you're like, okay, I'm not the only one who's like struggling with getting him to go to sleep at night, or, that potty training can be a challenge sometimes. And, whatever the topic was for the month, but that parent support was really key. And then I got involved as a volunteer as a parent mentor. So once I was a little farther along in my journey, I wanted a chance to give back. And so I went through some training and was able to support other parents in the same way I had been supported. And then I did a little work for them part-time over the years. And then about maybe a little over 5 years ago, almost 6 years now, the director position opened. And I really wasn't looking to go back to work full time. I hadn't worked full time in like 16 years, but I felt this big nudge, like this is what you need to do.
Here's your time.
Hang on a second. Let me just interrupt you right there, right? Because this is a topic. We did those 6-week transformations to all the women that come in and they talk and they tell their stories, and I love that right there. Hannah, who has a son with autism who needs assistance his whole life, and then another daughter says, I didn't want to go back to full-time work.
I was already working full-time at home.
Just to know you were working full-time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
No, I definitely acknowledge
and that's,
that.
right. And it's really fascinating because it's somewhat the modern American woman that perceives themselves as not working while they're working their ass off.
Yeah.
And it's something that we fail to give credit for. Often I overlook it often with my own wife, but it really is a remarkable thing. And it's and
I had to kind of retool my resume. Matt helped me to take the time I had spent outside of the paid workforce and really quantify some of the volunteer experiences I had that could translate into, employable skills.
Some of the additional training that you did for the program.
And so, position as the director, and I felt a big nudge to do it, and it kicked my butt when I
Yeah.
first went back to
Yeah,
work.
I'll bet.
In the workforce full time. But it was a good mesh of my experience as a parent,
Mhm.
because I wouldn't have this job without that, but also my education. I happen to have a master's in public administration. And so combining both of those is what made it such a good fit.
That's awesome.
Do you just a anecdotal observation question? Have you seen a change in the number of families seeking assistance for children with these types of disabilities over the last few years?
100%. Yeah, there's definitely an increase. And if you look at numbers from like the regional center system, they look at the disabilities of the clients they're serving. Autism now is finally taking over as the main disability regional center clients have. And that's $1 million question of
Okay.
what causes it.
Okay.
I'm more focused on giving parents and
Resources and
individuals the
help.
supports
Yeah.
they need.
Right.
If we could solve that, fantastic. But
not necessarily related to what might be causing it. There's a number of issues that are out there,
yes.
and I know that I'm also old enough, experienced enough to know that there's not one thing.
No, it's not.
There's likely 100 different things that are contributing to the increase. But one of the things that people are talking about, because I've heard this used almost as an excuse, well, there's just more diagnosis.
And there is something to be said about that,
Okay.
honestly, because I think we're getting better at diagnosing.
Okay.
And I think, and this is a change in California since Spencer was diagnosed. Now you have to go through your insurance company, and they have to provide families with a diagnostic evaluation, even if that kid gets Medi-Cal services. And that wasn't always the case. So sometimes our poorest socioeconomically families, it was very difficult for their kids to get diagnosed, and they may not be diagnosed till later. So then they're just missing out on the benefit of early intervention and early services and support. So yes, it is diagnosed more than when we all were growing up,
right,
for sure. But I don't know some of the reasons, and probably some get diagnosed now. There's a whole diagnostic and statistical manual. DSM is what's out there, and I think we're on DSM-5 right now.
Okay.
At some point, they did away with the Asperger's diagnosis for
Yes,
autism.
I remember that,
which is kind of a higher functioning, and now they just call everything autism.
Yes.
In some ways, that's okay, because I know some individuals identify as somebody with Asperger's, and we need to respect what they identify as. But getting just an autism diagnosis opens the door to more services, because some people could say, oh, well, you have Asperger's, you're pretty high functioning, you don't need this, some of these things, they were able to meet grade level standards or whatever it was, they're able to hold a job, but they may still struggle, socially, or, have some other executive functioning issues. And so getting the right diagnosis does open the door to more services.
I want to say Gen Z, and I'm not sure what comes after Gen Z, but
Alpha. I don't know.
I think that's it. I was going to say Alpha, maybe.
Yeah.
But the Gen Z community, and I speak with my daughter. She's kind of right on the cusp of whatever it comes before Gen Z. But my daughter's 20. Let me put it just in perspective. She's 21, but she talks about autism now. There's a nickname. They say they've got the tism. They're neurodivergent, and it's not derogatory in any way.
Not. Yeah,
it's a kind of a universal acceptance. It's almost a calling card of kind of a badge of honor. I actually admire it, because it's okay, this is what I have. This is what I'm going to do. This is who I am. I'm going to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's an acceptance. There's a much greater acceptance, and than when I was a kid. When
Spencer was little.
I'll bet. Because it was, those are the kids in special education, right? It was the special education kids, or those are the kids even worse. Those are the kids that rode the short bus.
Yep.
Right. And it was it was almost like like you didn't have anything to do with it. You didn't have any part of it.
More-
Now,
more segregation than anything,
right.
right?
Yep, it is.
separating
right.
it.
It kind of was. And again, that's human nature. And we get better as generations move on. Each generation's better than the next. And we may fight the shit out of them all along the way and disagree with them. But each generation gets better than the next. And so
that's true.
Which is, I think, is great in terms of enabling individuals like Spencer to have a better quality of life
100%.
without being judged or prejudged.
I think the research bears out that is in education, and I think in other community settings, inclusion is what makes the difference. That both kind of the typical kids and kids that have an autism spectrum disorder or another type of disability, that they're educated together and there's benefit for both groups of kids. It isn't going to hold back kind of the typical kids in their class to have somebody with a disability included in their class. Just like out in the community, I think that's why there's a much bigger emphasis now for individuals that are regional center clients to have opportunities in their community for socialization. They're part of our communities, and our kids, like I look at the ages of your kids, Jamie, they need to know that disability is just a natural part of our human experience. At some point, all of us will end up, disabled, maybe in some way or another. We need hearing aids.
That's well said.
Need glasses.
That's right.
We need other things. And so I think that's what we should want for our communities is that our kids just know that the disability is part of life, and these other individuals are part of our community too, which I think is what one of the things Spencer has found here.
Yeah. It is one of the things that has happened in the CrossFit community. And we can speculate as to why that is. Some will say, well, CrossFit's hard work. So I remember this old guy said to me outside, he goes, well, I said, our community is amazing. We have really cool people. He goes, well, of course you do. Because CrossFit's hard and hard work is a good asshole filter.
Yep.
And there is something to that, right?
Yeah.
And he, is trying to be funny, but there is something to that it's a natural filter that, that someone can do hard work, has a certain character.
Yeah.
But I think there's something that happens with a high intensity workout, where you're lifting heavy weights and you're being challenged in your skill sets, that it's somewhat disarming.
For sure.
That it breaks down the initial barriers and it makes it easy for people to to high five each other, to say hello to each other, we come in and we show a little bit of ourselves.
Yeah.
Being
vulnerable.
That's right. Our vulnerability.
Yeah.
And in which improves the community. This is just a complete anecdotal analysis of why there's community in CrossFit, but it is unique to CrossFit.
No, I agree.
Humility.
Yeah, I agree. I've done a lot of other things, in my own fitness journey, attending, group fitness classes at 24 for years. And probably I had one person that I would consider a friend outside of those classes.
Yeah.
And now here, within the first month I was here, it really is amazing. And it was something I didn't anticipate I need as much as I do, or that would be as important to me.
I feel like that's one of the things that most people starting out when they come in, they're so, this isn't for me. I don't know if this is going to be something I can do. But as soon as they get a chance to talk with a normal member of people that are in class, it just kind of helps bring that wall down, so you don't feel as guarded.
Yeah.
One of the things that people feel when they walk in, I know this to be true, you can tell when they come in, is they feel that when they come out of because we do an introduction here at Diablo where it's 6 individual sessions to be with one-on-one with the coach, get you comfortable with the movements, where the equipment is, what equipment to do, what your loading is going to be, what your substitutions might be. We meet the clients where they are. When they come into class, they're terrified because they think the perception is that everybody is looking at me and watching me. When you walk in here and you look at a CrossFit class, you're like, holy crap, all these people know what they're doing. And they're all badasses. It doesn't matter what body types look like. When you see all those barbells flying and people driving barbells, or people swinging kettlebells, or jumping on a rower, you think, oh, they all
out of the gym.
Right. These people are all fanatics and they all know what they're doing.
Or they're all athletes.
And when I come in here, or they're all competitive athletes. And when I come in, they're going to look at me and they're going to laugh at me, or they're going to think I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I can tell you right now, because this is going to be in my newsletter this week, by the way. Every single person in that class, I'd love to say, no, they're not. They're looking at you lovingly and they're supportively. No. They maybe a little bit. There's a couple people like Hannah who are, that are going to support you and give you a high five. But the rest of the people in the class, they're all inside their own heads.
Oh yeah, suffering through whatever
trying to figure out how they're going to do that workout, what that
Mm-hmm.
workout's going to feel like.
What are they breathing like? What rep am I on?
Yeah.
How many rounds was that?
Yes, how many
They've
rounds?
lost count somewhere along the way.
They are everybody has the same butterflies for the workout that's about to begin. They are blind to anything past 5 feet of where they are. They may look like they're looking at you.
Yeah.
They are not looking at you. Their mind is going.
Yep, it's really true.
And it's one of the disarming things. And at the end of it, like, oh, hey, Hannah, I didn't see you there. Hey, how are you? Where are you from?
Good job. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or the people that have to take off their glasses for the workout so they really can't see anything.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep. Yeah, that's with Chad when he has to take his glasses off at a workout. I know Chad can't see shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's and that makes for a really incredible environment for someone like Spencer that comes in, puts in the work. And it's interesting, I think, as we do get more experience or as coaches come in, they walk in, and one of the things I'll do when I come in now is I look and I look around the room, I see people, I'm like, oh man, they've changed. Oh man, okay, they're working. Okay, they're doing that. And it's more of a, this is my community.
Yes. I think for Spencer, because he had come here with, any combination of us. I started first, then Matt and Sydney were pretty soon after me. And then Spencer just had to come because we can't leave him at home. So he'd have to come and tag along. And I think there was definitely, when he first started, there was something about like, well, this is where my family works out. And this is where I work out now too.
Was he showing signs that he wanted to start doing some stuff?
No. And I honestly, if Chad hadn't approached me, I don't know that I would have asked about it. I mean, just that fear of like, do they have a coach that could handle my son? Like, he's tough sometimes.
Yeah.
Chad, I should note that Chad did not have any special training.
Chad did tell me he worked on some adaptive programming when he was in college, but that was his first experience with it, I think.
Got it.
So.
But what he did is he applied the CrossFit methodology, and as we're taught and we talk about all the time, was we meet our clients where they are.
Yeah.
You don't throw them into a CrossFit workout at the loads that the best athletes doing.
Yeah.
You scale and adjust to their movements to keep them safe, and then keep them in a range where they can achieve the desired stimulus, be it load, be it time working out, be it number of repetitions.
Yeah.
All of those things. Let's talk about resources for CrossFit affiliates, because one of the things you mentioned is that there are resources available for, say, Diablo CrossFit in regional centers. Yeah.
So the regional center system that I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, it was created back in like 1965 with the Lanterman Act, which basically, provided funding for creating these regional centers, 21 across the state. So they have different service areas, but the idea is that they provide everything from early intervention through the lifespan of an individual with a developmental disability. And usually to get continued services with regional center, an individual needs to have one of 4 diagnoses, really: autism, epilepsy, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and then really anything else that kind of looks like any of those and gets treated as such. The regional center system does provide funds for individuals to access both respite services. So that's a key one alone for families, is both in-home and out-of-home respite services. So since we can't leave Spencer on his own, we either have to make sure my parents are available who live in town, or we have to make sure we can access these respite services where an agency provides a worker to come. And then the out-of-home respite looks like, once a year, Spencer attends a sleepover camp called Camp Creme, and he loves it. And it's filled with individuals with various types of disabilities, and he loves going to camp. But boy, is that a break for us for 10 days while he's at camp.
Oh yeah.
The other service probably that families access the most from regional center is called social recreational services. And that's this idea of being out in the community and doing something socially or recreationally. So it can look a lot of different ways for families, anything from a horseback riding class to swim lessons to gymnastics, whatever it is. We use some of our social rec dollars to pay for Spencer's time here at Diablo. Now, with things set up as they are right now, we have to front that ahead of time and then get reimbursed.
The reimbursement program.
And so not every family can do that. And so one option, and I have a feeling this was what Brian and Modesto was doing when you guys were talking to him last week, is he is vendored with regional center, which is a little bit of a process. But then the regional center can pay the business directly for an individual to come in and do whatever package, however the unit is going to be sold, whether it's like a package of classes or a month at a time. Yeah, whatever you want to do. And then it's much more available to any regional center client because the family isn't having to front the money. The money just bypasses the family directly from the regional center to the business.
Okay. So I need to reach out to those guys.
Yeah. And I'm happy to help with that.
Brian Boucher from Midstate was on last week. And that was one of the things we were going to talk about. We didn't get into that part of the discussion, but he has successfully contacted and reached out to.
It sounds like he has. Yeah.
And he's got multiple athletes now coming in and training with him.
It's great.
Some with very severe disabilities.
Yeah. And so that's a potential, I think, for really any affiliate, at least in the state of California. I can't speak to how systems are set up in other states. And I would just encourage business owners in other states to check with whatever the state disability service department is. But for California, it's the regional center. And so Brian's served by a different regional center than we are here. But in general, the process should be pretty similar to getting set up to offer a package of a session or something that a regional center client could come in here and access.
As an affiliate owner, you have to be persistent. It is bureaucracy.
It totally is.
And the bureaucracy isn't, again, it's one of these misconceptions I had that you think the bureaucracy is just, it's just a state government office or local government office. They, they pride themselves on being slow and inefficient. No, it's not that. They're overwhelmed.
100%.
They have so many people from so many angles. And then they have so many reporting requirements.
They do.
And it is so that it's almost a bit of the squeaky wheel. You have to be persistent.
You do. And that goes for a family or for a business.
That's right.
Yeah.
And because we found that in working with the probation system here in Contra Costa County as well, I have to be persistent. Not persistent, they'll just let it go, and then someone doesn't get helped. And when they do connect, and you make connection, and you get support, it's impressive. These things are available to help. And you've got to be the squeaky wheel. It is up to us.
Yeah. And so I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head of how many people Regional Center of the East Bay serves, but that's between Alameda and Contra Costa counties. But you're looking at thousands of individuals who would have these funds available to them. And, think of not just from a business point of view, but that many people like Spencer, or even more severely physically limited than he is, coming in and benefiting from CrossFit and from the community.
Lisa,
I was just going to say,
Lisa Waddle asked a question.
She actually asked a question I was going to ask too.
Oh, she's my sister-in-law.
Oh, well, hello.
She's one of Matt's sisters.
Is it recommended that individuals with development and intellectual disabilities work one-on-one with coaches or join a session?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I think it would depend on the individual. For Spencer, I really can't see him
in a group
ever
setting.
Joining a class of where he's like one of 20, just because when I sit in class, I know that the coach is expecting me to a certain extent to be self-directed, that they're going to give a cue for the warm up or a stretch that we're doing or mobility, and I need to do that thing.
What if it was in like a much smaller group setting
I
where
think that's
maybe there's
too,
somebody,
where maybe there's a
handful of kids or athletes that are looking to...
I think it depends on the individual. And so I think families know their their individual best. I think maybe starting out with a one-on-one setting is good. And
I think
and that's what,
ideal for sure.
Diablo does anyway with the ramp up. But then kind of seeing and having the coach be able to assess, you know, if they feel like they'd be safe to join a class or maybe like graduate to a smaller
class. Yeah. Kind of take a case by case basis.
So that's a good question though. And it really would just depend on the individual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking that question, Lisa. Beat me to it.
Yeah. Lisa's a special ed teacher. She's got, we have a niece who has disabilities.
Okay.
And Lisa's her mom. Lisa's awesome.
Nice.
I think about, Jamie, similarly with anyone that comes into class that's new, there are some times when people will go through the basic startup that we strongly recommend that they not go into class.
Do privates.
And for various reasons. Primarily, what I don't want, I'm sure Jamie doesn't want, is them to feel inadequate or overwhelmed or incompetent in class,
or a burden. You know, you don't want somebody to come into class feeling like they're burdening the class or the coach because maybe they're more attention is needed.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
And so we'll graduate. So we'll put them through. We'll add more sessions, or you know, have them double up sessions, or in some cases, you know, like the couple you were talking to today, they might end up in a small group session.
Yeah, that's great.
Or one-on-one sessions.
Yeah.
And the assessment, I think, is the same.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say
it would be for Spencer as it would be for anybody else. You make that same assessment, right?
Yeah. I mean, it would probably definitely be a conversation with the parent too, as far as like, hey, what do you feel comfortable with him being in a group setting, or we've got this new group that's maybe coming in that we can start out and.
Or like with the teen program here at Diablo, you know, a conversation with Corey, if there's another teenager who could benefit from that teen environment.
I mean, like you said, it comes back to the community aspect and everybody having an opportunity to kind of, you know, commingle with each other.
Yes,
you know, it's like that's important. And I think that there's probably definitely some benefit to being in a group setting versus just being a solo one-on-one. Maybe it's like,
and I love
once
that
a week
Spencer's
kind of
in
thing.
Here when the gym is really busy and
it's
it's crazy
a lot
busy
of stimulation for
at those times of day. And he's definitely increased his tolerance for loud noises and people dropping a barbell and things like that. But I love that he's here at a time that's busy because really everybody is so great about saying hi to him. He always says hi to Kendra. I think he had a swim teacher with the same name. So he like latched on to Kendra and like, you know, it's not a weird thing. And Chris McCrary is the one that made up a handshake with Spencer. Chris had to show it to me once. And I told Chris later, I was just like, I'm so touched that you would, you know, go out of your way to like,
that's cool.
Make this special thing with Spencer. And, you know, other members see him at the same time as well. So, and I love that. So even though he isn't in class, his, you know, PT with Chad is, you know, around other people and he's getting a chance to interact with others.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things that Brian at Mid-State CrossFit does, and they're Merced, and you can go to his website and check him out and get all the information from Brian and what they do down there. One of the things that he does that I'm going to do that we haven't done is he has an onboarding questionnaire.
Yeah. So
questionnaire,
like a list of, you know,
what requirements
can get to this? Like, do they have a ride?
Right.
Being one of them.
Do they need assistance to go to the restroom?
Yes. And I think those are all things you need.
I asked,
to know
I asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
I went through the question. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, these are all good.
Does he have that on the website?
I believe he might have that on his website.
He'd probably send it to you.
Yeah. Did he show it in our?
No,
podcast?
He talked about it. He rattled off like a
and I saw the
of
question. And I can't find it in my email, but I'm going to adopt that as well.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially if you're serving more
right. Just to
clients.
Right. And it sets an expectation. I think for anyone that's out there, any affiliate owner, it sets an expectation in the client's parents' mind that okay, they're getting prepared to take good care of my
and as a parent
child.
I appreciate you know, settings that we're in where sometimes those questions are asked and it's a very common type of questions when I sign Spencer up for a camp or something. They want to know what they're dealing with, what behaviors does he have, how does he express those when he's like he doesn't deal with changes in routine very well, and so like we'll make sure they know kind of how to help redirect him when he's having a hard time with something like
we
that.
have had that happen, where we had a client that was working with Chad for several years. Whitney worked with Coach Whitney, and then was transferred to Chad.
It was a few coaches.
With a few coaches, and as he aged, as that client aged, first of all,
he got big.
He got big. He was
tall.
6'5", 6'6",
big kid.
240, and he would have very angry outbursts to where
you question safety of some people.
Yeah, question safety of the people that he was working with. And it became too challenging for us to be able to manage in an environment where there's other members that were around. And those are the types of things that you need to know and understand as an affiliate owner.
Definitely.
And you need to have honest, and Chad was good. Chad was brilliant at managing this individual.
Yeah.
And he would take him for walks and then allow him to
kind of calm down,
decompress and calm down. But his parents, we had to have those conversations, that and let them know he was making progress in terms of his workouts.
Yeah.
But as he was aging, he was becoming more and more
rigid. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of typical too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we see it a little bit in Spencer on certain things.
And so that's why it's important, one, to have a questionnaire, and two, to make sure that you're right, that you're having frequent contact, more so than you would for having another teen athlete.
100%.
You need to have more conversations. And I think you talked about Spencer and his medications, to get an understanding of medications and what the impact of those might be
in the
workouts.
All
of the in the workouts. Right?
Well, and just from a first aid point of view,
you
would want to know what they're taking when they can't communicate those things on their own.
That's right.
Yeah.
But overall, the changes in Spencer and his physicality and his demeanor and his attitude has been remarkable.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
Really
like the article was awesome. And
they did such a good job with it.
If you haven't read it, read the article. When you talk about, when you told the story of Spencer giving thanks at dinner and then thanking his coach.
Yeah. When Chad makes the prayer at dinner.
Chad made the prayer.
And I made sure I told Chad that, and he was like, oh my gosh, because I told him, I said, not everything makes the list. Spencer kind of goes through like his highlights of the day. And so it's something, that stands out to him when Spencer mentions it in his prayer.
Awesome. And right then you just, as an affiliate owner, I just think it's all worth it.
100%.
It's all worth it.
Yeah.
And it's a really powerful story. Well,
yeah.
I have one question. When you have people at the foundation coming in, are you encouraging them for any kind of fitness outlet, whether it's going for walks or something like that? Sharing
not directly.
This kind of experience?
Sometimes families will ask us like, hey, I want to get my kid in soccer. I want to get my kid in something else. And we might point them in the direction of programs we're aware of, usually only if a family asks about it. Sometimes with some of the moms, one of the things we work on, and it's something I wish that I knew about at the time when Spencer was diagnosed, but is setting a goal for self-care. So that could look a lot of different ways. Yeah. But just that importance of mom putting themselves on the list.
Okay.
And, when Spencer was first diagnosed, for about 6 months, I felt like everything I had to consume had to be autism related. Like anything I was reading, any book I was reading, this is kind of, it was like 2005. So it was before there was a ton of stuff on the internet. So just like, and I realized that wasn't sustainable for me. Like it wasn't going to help if I was burned out and was spending so much time researching all these things. I wasn't going to find like the magic seed. So I like the self-care goal. And I think that's just like a good life hack, but especially for moms of kids with disabilities.
If you want to make yourself a better mother,
if
you want to make yourself a better spouse, you want to make yourself a better educator, if you want to make yourself a better employee for a company, you have to make yourself better physically and mentally.
And that idea of like, you can't pour from
Right.
an empty pitcher.
For sure.
Well, yeah, right. There you go. That's the great metaphor.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
You will be better at it, and you'll feeling better about yourself is a great way. It's do you not want that person to be your caretaker? You want someone that feels good about themselves.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Is another way to
teaching
put
your
it.
kid
Somebody that's resentful about
Right.
themselves, and that's not who you want
Yeah,
running.
it's true.
It's something I also say to a lot of people, and I posted on my social media, is our kids are watching us.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
That's where they're, you could spend a lot of
They're
time and have
sponges.
them go to
Mhm.
exercise classes, make them do this, make them do that. But if you're not doing something,
Mhm.
they see that.
Yeah.
They see that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Well, right on.
Yeah.
Well, we've gone an hour and 5 minutes.
Okay.
That was really easy to talk to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any resources that you would recommend that people reach out to, or is there a way they can contact you?
I'm happy to share my work email. That's a great one for people to contact me about. And I can make sure they if they're in California, get set up with the center that's in their area.
Okay.
I think very highly of all my colleagues across the state doing the same work. So
What's your email address?
it's H. Michaelsen
Okay.
At careparentnetwork.org.
All right. That was like way too fast.
I know it's a lot. It's a long handle.
We'll add it into the
I'm
chat.
at H. Michaelsen at
Care Parent Network.
Network.com or
.org.
.org.
Yeah.
All right. So I just posted it.
Yeah. Thank
H.
you.
Michaelsen at careparentnetwork.org.
Yeah. So, people, especially in California, feel free to email me, and, I'll get them connected with the center in their area. If they're in Contra Costa County, we're your center. And, my team speaks English and Spanish. Probably half the families we support speak Spanish.
Wow.
So this system is hard to navigate, and I have a master's degree. Imagine doing it in a language that's not your native language.
Right.
It's just
and not even knowing where to really
so
start.
tough. Yeah,
Oof.
so tough. And then we'll get them assigned to one of our team members and help them with whatever. Do they need help on their next IEP? We're your people. Do they need help talking to regional center or getting re-engaged there? We're your people. It's important that families, I think, access services, get all they can from their health insurance. That's usually where families can get behavior services, or maybe additional speech or OT. And then any medication management that's needed is through your health insurance, as is the diagnostic evaluation. Get all you can through the school system. For ages 3 to 22, that's where our kids spend the most of their day. And so the school has a lot of great services that students can benefit from. And then get all they can from the regional center.
Yeah.
It's tough when a family, their kid is older and they haven't been connected with regional center. It just takes a little more time to, work your way through the bureaucracy to get re-signed up. But, you want everything your kid is eligible for.
If you get plugged into a community, a good community, you're going to find resources that you didn't think available.
It's so true.
Someone's going to go, okay, Craig, here's who you need to call.
Yeah.
And
it's so true. And that's how parents learn whether you have a kid with a disability or not.
That's true. I will also tell you this. I'm going to give a commercial here. Is reach out to your local CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
And they have eager coaches that are hungry to do private coaching sessions.
Yeah.
And they'll charge a fair price. I know they will, because most CrossFit coaches don't charge enough. and they'll do a great job. And if they aren't, or you're not comfortable with that CrossFit gym, go to another one, right? Because just like any business out there,
you're going to click with some.
You're going to click with some. The community is going to be different than others. Yeah. And all CrossFits are independently owned. We affiliate with CrossFit. And so some are going to be a little bit different than others.
Yeah.
And some may be better than others. And that's okay. Just go to another one. Maybe
find one that fits.
Yeah. Find one that fits. And if you go to a CrossFit gym, just say, hey, here's my situation. Here's what I got. Do you think you can do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And give them a chance. I think you'll have you'll have an amazing experience myself.
Yeah.
And it will be better for everybody.
Yeah. And that's a great resource for parents. It's, 1 hour of my day. I don't have to think about work or about my child with a disability. I just put my head down and do the work. Yeah. And have a great community.
See it? She puts her head down. She's not looking at anybody else going on. I wonder what
Yeah. No.
she's totally in her own world, figuring out
What round am I?
Yeah.
What right? Yeah.
What's that? Was that?
The only thing I start to notice is when everybody else is done and I'm still working,
Oh,
because
yeah,
I'm usually pretty
yeah.
slow. I'll take the
But
lifting.
that's where the intensity really
Yes.
kicks up. Because it's like, oh, I gotta go.
It really
Yeah,
does.
it's true.
Yeah.
But I'll take the lifting over,
Oh yeah.
most of the Metcons any day.
Yeah.
So
Right on. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for being on, Hannah. This is
you're
awesome.
welcome. Thanks
Yeah.
for the invitation.
Great
And I just
discussion.
want families to know what's out there,
Yeah.
and
This is
for
really helpful.
businesses too. Like if you're talking to a parent who's like, "Oh my gosh, my kid was just diagnosed," like you can help connect them to these resources.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't despair.
Let us
Yeah.
start with a conversation.
Yep, it's true.
Right on.
Cool.
Thank you both.
Until next time.